Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, if you got a minute, just shoot me a quick text. Say, hey, your name, you're here, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera around so that you guys, if you have any questions, I can go ahead and walk around the 589. But I do need your participation. You got to write comments and questions in there. So if you want to see something specific on the truck that you haven't seen in other videos, Peterbilt Steve did such a phenomenal video on his truck there. But there's some things that I learned today during our open house that the truck has that is pretty cool. And there's some old school truck drivers that showed me a couple things that I thought was pretty awesome. So, hey Randy, how's it going? So Randy's question is have you driven a 589 with the new Endurant transmission? I'm glad you asked that question, Randy. So let me flip the camera here. I got to figure out how to do it, but this truck actually has the Endurant 18 transmission. And I wanted to take and, sorry, I'm a little distracted here. I wanted to do a video while I was driving the truck, but this one has the PACCAR 510 with the Endurant 18. So yes, I have driven it, and I've also driven that transmission at the Eaton Proving Grounds. So let me see how I do this here. I know I don't need to look at my dumb face anyways. Hey! Oh, there we go. That's the easiest button I could find too. Okay, there you go, Randy. All right, so let's take a look at this. And actually, I might have to set my phone down because, as you can see here, the hood is a little bit difficult to roll on this prototype truck. So this is not a production truck. It is the one that you saw probably during the actual reveal. And I think that they have to do some modifications. So some of the parts on this truck they had to use parts off of the 389. So I think that the springs, the assist springs for the 589 don't work so well. So the hood is like about as much fun to pull over as a W9. So, all right, Randy, so let's take a look here. Engine's hot. There is the top of the Endurant 18-speed transmission. Okay. So the clutching mechanism on the Endurant 18 is way smoother than the Ultra Shifts. It puts the power down a lot smoother. The clutch is different. Just to give you an idea, the Endurant 18 is a dedicated auto shift, whereas the Ultra Shift was a non-dedicated. It was basically transformed into an auto shift. So, any questions? One of the things I did notice, guys, if you want to see here, you remember on the old 389s, you typically had the air coming in from here going over to the engine. So here on this one here, oops, sorry, I flipped my camera by accident. Now it comes to the bottom of the breather, and it comes up. And it marries together right there, and then it comes in on the cool side of your turbo right there. So, okay, Randall has another question. We have it in a 24 389 with 600 Cummins, and absolutely loving it, pulling 140,000 grain trailers, 140,000 pound grain trailers in fields and on the highway. Yeah, and you know what? When we were at the Proving Grounds for Eaton, Randall, Matt Hobby, one of our great customers here in the Colorado area, him and I were driving it, and they had a truck loaded at 140,000 pounds, and we were coming down, I think it was a 14% grade, and that truck was downshifting, and Matt Hobby was driving that thing, and he didn't even touch the brakes. It was crazy how well that worked. So, Ronald says, so do you have one in black, cherry, or metallic blue? Well, I actually have a black cherry 579 sitting right here, Randall. I don't know if you want to see the color, but this is a prototype 589, so we don't have a whole bunch of them out there. But if you're wanting there, I have a video of this truck. This is a black cherry 579. These are what are called marketing trucks. And when they're a marketing truck, they're not a lot of production stuff out there. There's some there's some validation units out there. That's what Peterbilt Steve has. So I want to show you guys the back side of the air cleaner. See that? Now this is still a 15-inch can, but you can see the back side is flat. And I want to shoot a quick shout out to Dustin Dickerson out in Indiana. He's building some seriously great trucks, man. He did the notorious PIG truck for Strayer out there, and he's already had eyes on this thing, and he's actually capable of making parts. And I also talked to Dynaflex and Lincoln Chrome the other day, and they are already in works of getting the stacks and everything ready for the production of the 589 in January. So that's good news, right? One of the things that was pointed out to me today by an old school guy, he's still driving a 359, is he appreciated the fact that the Pitman arms for the windshield wipers are readily available and easily accessible. So that's one thing that everybody seemed to like today. And I'm gonna take this box off here. I want to show you guys something real quick. I'm hoping that there's going to be an aftermarket ad for this. So I'm popping off the step box here. Did it with one hand. But just to give you a perspective, this one's set up with 3 batteries. You can put a 4th battery in there, but there's also enough space in there. You could seriously mount a fire extinguisher, possibly have your triangles, and even put your toe pins. So I threw the toe pins in here just as a reference. So bad part is you can't lock it. Something else that some guys have been kind of curious about is what the routing of the fuel or the exhaust system is going to look like. So I'm ducking under the truck so you can see it. You can probably see it better than I can. How the routing. So the DPF comes out horizontally. Now on the short hood, the exhaust is still going to be a working stack. So on a short hood, you're going to have a working stack just like this, which is super cool. I was confirmed with Peterbilt yesterday that they are not going to do an extended day cab, and honestly I don't know that it's really going to be necessary because this cab is so big. So, any other questions, guys? I gotta get in the shade so I can see my screen. This one is legendary red with legendary black. It's a 273 wheelbase, 336 rears, PACCAR 510, and of course, like Ronald had alluded to, a Endurant 18-speed transmission. So, if you guys want to hear some observations that I had in my 100-mile drive. I'm driving it back up to Denver tonight. So if any of you guys are passing through the Denver area, it's going to be on display tomorrow in Denver, first thing in the morning. And they're going to have kind of an open house situation as well. But I'm going to close the hood because I want to show you guys a couple things. These are very bright, and you can see here because of the angle of the hood. See how that hood angles this way now to meet the breather? They kept the 389 headlights, so it's a synonymous part with the 389, but they put this little spacer in here. Kind of a genius way. I think what they're doing is they're just buying time until they can put the actual headlights on, the 379 headlights that I've alluded to in the past. So real quick, just so you can see under the air breather. Now when I'm looking in the mirror, I just want to show you as a driver looking in the mirror, that handle is right there. I would imagine you could take it off. It's bolted if you didn't want to have it in the way, but it does protrude out there rather definitively. Hop in here real quick. So this one is the platinum interior. I'm not seeing any more questions, guys. I need you to fire me some questions. I want to hear what your thoughts are, your questions. I will go until my battery dies on this thing, or it gets too hot. So, from a driver's perspective, I am 6'1", and I feel small in this truck. I've driven a lot of 567s, and that's probably one of my more favorite models as far as just all-around view, having a nice little hood and everything. But I actually feel small in this truck just because the hood is big. And one of the things that I'm still getting used to is the angle of the hood from the corner up to the corner post of the cab. Now, one thing that I did notice, and I don't know if you guys can see what I'm talking about right there, you'll notice that metal cowl panel that comes off the front side of the 389 cab, that little flat spot, from a dealer perspective, I'm actually pretty excited about how they did this hood, because I had to adjust almost every single hood coming from the factory so that it would match up in the right fashion with that cowl that comes off of the cab. And now that that's gone, and you can see here how they made it wrap around the air breather, and it comes all the way up here, we don't have to make those two things match up. Now there is a big catch pan there, so for leaves and everything, so it'll be very easy to clean out for your HVAC. One of the other things I noticed is for driving the truck, I'm just kind of giving you my perspective, is the spot mirror on the right side. It is actually placed really nice, but you do lose a little bit right there with that spot mirror being placed lower, but it doesn't cover up the big mirror. So great question, Jim. So the pre-wire for the chicken lights is the same as the 389. One of the things that we're working on, and I got a couple 589s on order and I got some more that I'm getting ready to put on order next week. And I'm going to put in an option request with the factory to go ahead and put a pre-wire for breather lights on there. That's the one X factor that we haven't quite figured out. And when I was talking to Dustin Dickerson the other day, look him up, this Dickerson Custom Trucks, but he's actually capable of stamping stuff out. He is going to be doing breather lights, but yes, as far as being able to do auxiliary chicken lights, yes, we are going to be able to do that. So we'll put a switch over here, and there will be a pre-wire. It's probably going to be, I don't know if it's going to be on the firewall like it was for the 389, or if it's going to be underneath. And so I might reach out to Peterbilt Steve and see what he has, because I don't see that switch on this particular unit. But, and again, Jim, if you just jumped in, I did talk to Dynaflex the other day, Sal out there in Dynaflex. They are desperately trying to get in front of one of these trucks so that they can start working on the stacks. Lincoln Chrome is doing the same as well. I haven't spoken to anybody with Phoenix yet, or 12 gauge for that matter. So here's something that's kind of cool in the sleeper while I'm waiting for more questions here. So when you turn on your lights, you actually have a dimmer. So in the 389, you just basically had it on and an off. This one here, you have a dimmer. Okay. Now, wipe off my lens real quick. But we also have ambient lighting package in here. And so the ambient lighting package is actually LEDs back here. So that is an option that I think is pretty rad. So while you're watching your TV, you don't have to have these things shining down on your head, and you don't have to have these on. You can have some nice ambient lighting on there, and that one is also hooked to a dimmer switch. So pretty sweet. It's too bright outside to see it. So okay, it says, Jim says aftermarket guys are going to come up with some over-the-top upgrades. I can't wait. You know what, I'm gonna jump back out the truck because I noticed something else today that I absolutely love about this truck as a dealer. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Real quick, while I'm inside the visor, okay, this visor is pretty much not even visible. You have to literally kind of duck your head under to see it. I mean, you can see the angle of the sun right now, and it helps a little bit. I hate that it glare off the dash, and I see zero glare off the dash right here. So I like to sit up off the floor a little bit more, and I would say that a 14-inch drop visor is probably going to come down here. I believe that this visor that's on here is like a 10-inch, but they got it up high. I think a 14-inch visor for tall guys will be good, but gosh, I could even see guys doing bigger visors on this truck. And it's still looking pretty cool, but let me jump out and I'll show you something else that I noticed about the visors over the 389, and it's going to save you guys money. And I hope you can see it. So if you can see that, so instead of having the brackets hooked, the stock brackets hooked, you know, where you have to cut them off and we have to rip the headliner down at the body shop, this thing's cool because you just unbolt it, and even the mounting brackets, I wish I could get up there and show you a little bit better. I can't see my phone, so hopefully you guys can see. But the brackets that actually mount to the roof of the truck are bolted as well. So that's, you guys doing your visor installs, you can do this yourself, like without having to go into the body shop. So I'm pretty darn excited about that. Let's look and see if there's any pre-wire under here. So I don't see any pre-wire on this truck, so there was no... I wish they would have dressed it up a little bit. So, okay, Dean. Hey, Dean, how's it going? So it says, I'm 5'7" and I like to sit really high. I feel more alert. Yeah, and I'll tell you, Dean, when I'm driving this truck, I like to sit higher just because I have back issues. I really have a hard time sitting on the floor. I commend you guys who can do it, but I sit up higher, and like today, I could have actually even raised my seat up just a little bit more. I think the Atlas seats are pretty cool. I had another customer who had a question about this, the two-tone. And this one has got the gray interior. So you can see the accents. So I was asked about the two-tone in the seats. So this is the gray package, platinum package, of course. Now if you get the legendary package, you only get black seats, and these seats are heated and ventilated. Now the brown, I wish I could get a picture from the factory of what the brown looks like, but I'm hoping it's a little darker because this truck has 5,000 miles on it, and you can kind of already see a little bit of a, not wear and tear, but you can just see a little bit of patina from people sitting in there. So Jim, so he's asking if this one has 24s. This is low pro 20. Nope, these are 11R 22.5s, and it's sitting on a low air leaf suspension. It's not a car hauler front end. Another kind of comment that I have too is in a 389 you feel like you're in the truck, right? On this truck here, just because that windshield is so big, you feel like you're more on the truck. Like you just feel like you're sitting higher in this truck as you're driving it down the road. So what's the longest wheelbase possible? Well, if you can dream it, we can pretty much build it, but there is a certain length of frame rail. That the length is based off of the frame rail. And so on this truck here, I think you can do a 315 wheelbase before Peterbilt starts asking questions like, hey, we need more information. What are you doing here? But there are guys who've built longer trucks out there. I think Peterbilt Steve's done some pretty long trucks. My longest truck personally has been a 315. I'm working on a show hauler right now, and I had to call the factory and ask for another 6 inches of frame rail. Now the reason that they kind of limit us on our frame rail length, I think the frame rail length that I had was 491 inches and I needed 497 inches. And if you've ever been on a factory tour, you'll see that that frame rail will change directions multiple times throughout the process of the construction of the truck. And to make that frame rail change directions, there's only so much space available. And that's why we have that rule, so to speak. But hopefully that answers your question. Let me get in the shade so I can see my screen again here. Hey, welcome to everybody who joined. So, thinking about a 346 wheelbase and adding an ARI sleeper. Christopher, that is actually pretty easy to do. 346 will not be an issue, so if that's something that you wanted to do, just let me know. I can get with ARI, we'll do the layout, and it'll be pretty good. So, I'm actually working on a show hauler that's going to have the stacks. So he's not going to have the attic on there. But great comment, Christopher. Thank you guys. Hey, I really appreciate the participation. Again, you know, like I said, I'm just trying to do things a little differently. Peterbilt Steve did such a great job on his video. Really appreciate a lot of the things that he's noticed and talked about. But I'm a former truck driver, so I want to talk about driving the truck. I couldn't find my phone mount, otherwise I was actually going to try to do a live while I was driving the truck. I can't do it while I'm holding the phone. I'd probably get fired. So, okay, Christopher, I appreciate that. Yep. So, you guys, oh, look at this. This is something that's got me pretty excited too, right? This is an 80-inch sleeper. Now, the reason that a lot of guys are going with the 72-inch sleeper on their 389s, much like that 579 over there, is because you can get the rounded corners, right? And then whenever you get your factory paint, if you don't want the side extenders, with the 389s, we couldn't bring the factory paint all the way around the backside of the sleeper, but check this out. So now you can actually buy an 80-inch sleeper. You can buy an 80-inch sleeper and you can get the side windows. They didn't put this door on here, but yes, you can still get a door. I know that's important for a lot of people. And I believe even on an 80-inch sleeper, I might be able to do a rear window. So I could actually do a 3-window sleeper on a 589. So I do them on these all the time, but I was only able to do it on a on this style of truck here. So, Jim, I want to test drive one. Who knows when we'll show up in Jersey? Thanks for sharing. You know what, Jim? I think what you got to do is just call your local dealer and just ask them if they have a validation truck coming to a customer, or if there is any marketing trucks like this that are going to be passed around. This truck is going to be in Denver until Monday. It's leaving on Tuesday, so yeah. Oh, check this out too. I can't remember if Peterbilt Steve showed this on his video. I call this the tallywhacker, but I do like how they rerouted the S-bar bunk heater exhaust. It just looks nice. And if you want to see how it looks underneath, they don't have a bunk heater in this truck, but You can see the routing of the bunk heater underneath here, the exhaust system. I did have a couple customers actually test drive this thing today. Matt Hobby is one of our great customers here, and he had some very, very valid feedback. When he talks, I listen. But he just built a 567, and he was always a 389 guy, but he's actually really, really liking his 567. It's his first one. He just wanted to try one. My buddy Drew in Denver built a really cool one up there. But so he drove this one, and he really, really liked it. So he said he's really torn on what he wants to order next. So does anybody have any more questions on the inside, outside? I just want to make sure I'm trying to go as thorough as I can with this, guys. I really appreciate your participation. Hey, Christopher, absolutely, yes, they do. They still have Legendary Black Cherry. We have thousands of colors. Legendary colors, they're all the same as they have been. This one is a Legendary Red. We got good sunlight out here, so you can see that beautiful flake. It's got Legendary Black. Legendary Black Cherry is awesome. I want somebody to let me build them a Legendary Purple. I have not done a Legendary Purple yet, so that's one of my bucket list items. That's a color I haven't done yet. I've seen them out there though, but I've been doing a lot of other purples that I love. Oh, let me talk about paint, guys. So we already have, like you can see here, Peterbilt is going to be doing the Seminole paint, of course. I think you've seen those online. But we actually have diagrams of these trucks. So it shows the side view of the truck, and it's on grid paper. Okay, I'm going to back up so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So it's on grid paper. We can draw our own color scheme or our own striping scheme that you wish. Now, with that said, you can only do two colors, right? And so, but just, I like the lines here, and I think if you remember the 389, it was really hard to follow the rivet line with the Seminole because it would look weird. It would look like the paint kind of went like this, where the air breather looked. But if you look at the line work on this, it follows the rivet line now, which is pretty sweet. But we can draw your paint schematic personalized to you. That means you're a one-off custom built truck. Okay, so Christopher says haven't seen that color. Yeah, I think there's some out there. I can't remember if Steve's done some, but there's, if you just go on YouTube and just type in Legendary Purple Pete. Burgundy and cream with a black chassis. Yes, that would be good. And then let me go back to, what is the word on painted frames? Thanks, Randall. I appreciate that question. Here's the word on painted frames. I actually submitted a request to the factory yesterday on that show hauler truck that I'm building, and they declined it, but that's not necessarily a no. What they're doing is it's based off of how heavy the order flow is. The order board at Peterbilt is starting to slow a little bit, so I'm betting that they're going to say yes. So what I was told by the factory yesterday is we have to go ahead and place the order for the truck with the expectation of the frame being black. Okay. And once we place the order, then you submit what we call an option approval request or a change order to the factory asking for the paint change. Okay. Now, with that said, back in the good old days when we just chose the painted frames, it was like $1,600 list price to paint the frame. Okay. On this one, since they've had such a backup at the factory, the price has gone up because it does cost them time in production. So you're not necessarily paying an upcharge for the cost of the paint or anything. You're paying an upcharge for the cost of the time that it takes to slow the line down to paint the frame. I hope that makes sense. But if you go on a factory tour, you'll see what I'm talking about, how they have to crank those trucks through there. But you basically have to make a gap in the line, in the assembly line, of almost 3 trucks to paint a frame. So the list price of doing a frame paint is around $3,600 before our dealer discounts. Sorry about the nose, guys. But yeah, so it does cost more, and my confidence level in being able to get painted frames is very high now. But again, it all depends on demand at the factory, okay, guy? So, all right. For those of you who are just joining us, I just wanted to kind of go over a couple things, just a quick recap. The DPF system boxes, they're going to be pretty much the same size. We still can do an underframe box. And yes, with sleeper trucks, most assuredly, we can get the dummy mounts. So when Dynaflex and Lincoln come out with their stacks, we will be able to do a weed burner exhaust with the dummy stacks, which I really think is a growing trend. It's just because that DEF fluid is just so caustic, it tears up your expensive chrome. So yes, Christopher, there is a legendary green. There is a legendary green. If you go on my YouTube page and just look up legendary green 567, I did a video on that. And there is it's like a champagne color. It's not necessarily a cream color. And then there's also a legendary bright green, which that's another color I haven't got to do in the legendary lineup. It's like a monster green, but it's got the glass flake in it. So if you can imagine monster green with the glass flake in the paint, I'm waiting for somebody to also take a leap of faith with me on that. But so a quick recap here too on the battery box. You can see here, there's extra space down here in the battery box. I actually put the toe pins in there to give you a reference because everybody knows how big their toe pins are. You could probably put your triangles and a fire extinguisher in there as well. The only drawback is it's held by the rubber grommet and it's not locked. Okay, but see, you can see here. Oh, another thing too, battery disconnect is located here now. And as you can see, there is no air tank. No air tank. All the air tanks are tucked back behind. And again, I'll show you guys the routing of the exhaust. It comes off the DPF at a different angle now. They've made some changes because some of the sensors that are on the DPF were getting hammered by rain and moisture where they were positioned, where they were coming out and up on some of the prior trucks. Again, I want to emphasize for you day cab guys out there, I'm a day cab guy, I am very, very excited that we have working stacks on a short hood. On a short hood, so let me talk about short hood real fast. I'll talk about that. So all these fenders, they're still aluminum, right? If you get a short hood, there's going to be a cut in the fender right here. And from here down, because it's going to be back, right, a short hood's going to have a 10-inch shorter wheelbase. So your axle's coming back 10 inches. Your hood's going to be 10 inches shorter. So this actual fender is coming back all the way up underneath your air breather. And so they're going to put, your fender's going to come down just like this. You've seen pictures of them, I'm sure, but this piece that's here is not going to be aluminum. It's that Meton flexible plastic. But it will be match painted. So, okay. Hey, thank you guys for joining. Shoot your name up there, fire a question. I will go right to that spot on the truck specific to your question, guys. Underneath the bunk is pretty much unchanged. It's all the same. Now, if, like I was talking about early, if we can do a rear window, you do lose this Peterbilt logo. And if you do a second bunk, you might lose the ambient lighting package. Okay, so you guys, Rowan, I don't know what you're asking me, Rowan. No clue what you're asking. What do you mean by grannies? So, real quick, like I talked about, if you weren't on before, from a driving perspective, that's in your line of sight. That's one of the things I was like kind of caught off by. But the nice thing is you don't like that grab handle, you can just zip it off there. Oh, one of the other things I noticed too, and I'd like to drive one of these with a Cummins in it, but you get a lot more whistle. You get a lot more whistle from the turbo through the breathers now, and it sounds cool. Now that's on the PACCAR engine, but it just seems to be a little bit more prevalent now. You know, for an emissions truck, that's always nice to hear just a little bit of noise. Oh, the breathers. Let me show you about the breathers. So it's not the same. It's not the same cartridge that you're going to put your air breather into that you were using on your 389. The cartridge is actually a little bit smaller, and if you can kind of see the nozzle right there, it's offset a little bit to the right, and that's because the back side of the air cleaner is flat. So that is Matt opened that up. Matt Hobby, one of our customers, opened that up a little bit earlier today, and he says, yep, that's a Donaldson filter. To my understanding, that's a less expensive filter, and it's a good thing. So I'd be kind of curious to hear feedback on that. Yeah, that's not going to happen, Monty. I got better things to do with my time, brother. It is funny, though. You're probably going to get ixnayed for doing that kind of stuff, bud. I'll go back inside real quick. Let me set this down so I can put the box back on. Okay. Wait. Let's see. Okay, guys, well, if you don't have too many more questions, we've been on for almost 40 minutes, so hope to do more live videos. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick walk around video on it again, just like I normally do. Nothing too crazy. So, let's see. Chad says, it's going to be real interesting to see what the aftermarket sector does with breather lights. Be cool to see. Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't know if you're on earlier or not, Chad, but Dustin Dickerson with Dickerson Customs out of Indiana, I talked to him the other day. He's actually able to stamp his stuff out, and he has kind of a pre-stamped breather light set up for this truck. And he said since the back of the breather is flat, it's actually easier to build it, and it's going to be pretty structurally sound. He says it's also going to be much easier to do a strapless breather kit too. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Again, I haven't figured out a way to do the pre-wire for the breather lights, and that's something that I'm working on my next orders. Yeah, so the rectangular headlight is going to be an option. It's coming in June. If you look at the 589 enthusiast page, you might see some spy photos. So, well, guys, I have some gentlemen that want to come up and take a peek at this truck. I really, really appreciate you guys. And I'm grateful that I get to work with you guys on a day-to-day basis. If you have any questions, give me a call. And we can talk about, getting something ordered. I do have some open slots for first and second quarter that we can go ahead and plug in a 589. Real quick, if you get the legendary package, the first 589 models, to my understanding, the first 589 589s are going to get special badging. And I believe that's with the legendary package only. I am not sure, but I'll get confirmation on that. But if that's something you're interested in, we got to get your order in pretty quick. Okay, so sure appreciate you guys. Talk to y'all soon. Stay safe out there and have a great day.